was buried.
In 1587, over 100 English men, women, and children landed on Roanoke Island to build a permanent settlement. But as supplies rapidly dwindled, their leader, Governor John White, was forced to sail back to England for provisions. The timing was disastrous. The Anglo-Spanish War trapped White in Europe, and when he finally managed to return in 1590, the settlement had been thoroughly and methodically dismantled. He found no bodies, no graves, and no signs of a struggle. Before leaving, White had established a strict safety protocol. If the colonists were forced to flee due to danger or distress, they were instructed to carve a cross into a nearby tree. White scoured the settlement area, but the distress cross was nowhere to be found. Instead, he found two highly deliberate messages. The letters CRO were etched into a tree trunk, and the full word Croatoan was carved deeply into a wooden palisade post. You probably know the pop culture version of this story. The colonists vanished into thin air, leaving behind a paranormal mystery. However, that narrative is a modern invention, heavily popularized by a 1937 North Carolina theatrical play designed to drive local tourism. The physical evidence left at the fort points to a deliberate, organized relocation. The colonists dismantled their own homes and left a clear forwarding address, reducing a supernatural myth down to a practical question of geography. Modern archaeology supports a dual migration theory. To survive a severe food shortage on an isolated island, the colony had to split up. The majority followed the carved post, traveling 50 miles south to Hatteras Island, home to their Croatoan allies. Today, archaeologists from the University of Bristol are actively digging inside the historic sites of those exact indigenous villages on Hatteras. Deep within the soil, they are unearthing 16th century English items, such as musket gun locks and brass Nuremberg counting tokens, mixed directly into Native American sediment layers. Researchers next found a specific byproduct of labor, hammer scale. These are microscopic flecks of metal debris that blast off an anvil during active blacksmithing. Local native populations at the time did not smelt or forge metal in this manner. Excavating these flakes from inside an indigenous village indicates that English blacksmiths set up shop and worked there, likely for several years. This suggests that a significant portion of the colony survived the elements by peacefully integrating with the Croatoan people, bringing their European trades and tools directly into the tribe. Before John White left for England, the settlers had explicitly discussed a secondary backup plan, moving 50 miles deep into the mainland to find better agricultural soil. This is Governor John White's 1585 watercolor map, Virginia Parse, documenting the North Carolina coast. For centuries, a tiny paper patch on it went ignored. In 2012, British Museum researchers found a hand-drawn fort symbol hidden underneath, planted exactly 50 miles inland. Following that exact geographic coordinate, the First Colony Foundation began excavating agricultural lands. Near Salmon Creek in Bertie County, an area they designated Sites X and Y. Beneath the topsoil, they found fragments of late 16th century Surrey, Hampshire ceramics. This is the exact everyday pottery Elizabethan families used for preparing and storing food. These artifacts provide a tangible link to 16th century domestic life, pointing to a long-term homestead and supporting the theory that a smaller splinter group moved up the Chowan River. Archaeologists are assembling a new picture that moves past the idea of a vanishing act. For many researchers, the focus has shifted from whether the colonists survived to how they adapted. While ghost stories continue to sell the idea of a vanished people, modern science is actively tracking down their potential living descendants. Today, genetic genealogists are testing the DNA of individuals from local indigenous communities, like the Lumbee tribe, searching for specific historical links. They are mapping European paternal markers within these tribal lineages and matching them directly back to the surnames of the original 1587 colonists. Instead of a total disappearance, we see a story of persistence, where the first English settlers survived by joining indigenous families, leaving behind specific paternal markers that persist in modern North Carolinians today.